Hey you guys, so we're getting ready to start in a few minutes. This is some of the stuff you're missing out on. Then all this networking. We're about to get started.
But how long have y'all been around?
Got a book giveaway tonight. So let's get this set up. Hey, how's it going?
Good. I just wanted to ask you a question real quick. I'm trying to find a bond for new property to buy.
Okay.
So I know, I don't know what to do. I really wanted a condo at 8% self-filter on it. When we tell you that
I do remember that.
ago. That was a nightmare. The seller never could come up with a payoff. And he strung us on for 5 months.
Yeah. Let me introduce you to one.
Let's see.
It's hard. It's more like keep moving it to different locations. Have it in one set place. No one asked a question where church is. So I get it. I live here, so I would have a trouble if I moved to the All right, you guys, let's go ahead and find a seat. All right, if you don't mind finding a seat, we're going to get started. All right, you guys, if you don't mind finding a seat, we're going to go ahead and get started. All right, it's good to see everyone. See some new faces, see some familiar faces, see some returning faces. I always have to do this because I forget. All right, you guys. Well, hopefully you guys didn't get too wet where we drove in from. But for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Courtney Fricke. I've been on these events. And yeah, like I said, I do see some new faces. For those of you who don't know, the North Shore Arena, we meet 2 to 3 times a month. And it's all free to attend. So you guys are welcome to check us out at any of our meetups. I actually just got the Facebook live stream going, so you can actually watch. Like, say if you can't make it for whatever reason, and you're like, oh, I wish I could have heard that speaker. Well, thanks to the Book of Faces, the online world, we've got kind of like a history log of videos, so you can watch them. I'm not the biggest on technology, so sometimes I swear one night my phone rings 12 times in the middle of it. I was like, it didn't ring the whole afternoon, but then during the video, it's like everyone started calling. But I think some marketing dropped or something. It was bad timing. But well, look. So a few things. On that back table, we've got a form if you want to sign up for our newsletter. I promise, I always joke this, but it's really true. I only really have time to send one email a month, one newsletter a month. But pretty much that email is going to have like an overview of all the meetings for the month. But if you found us, wherever you found us online, whether it's through Meetup, whether it's through Bigger Pockets, Facebook, our website, whatever, we still post on that, but sometimes the newsletter is a good reminder, oh yeah, these are the events this month. Let me see. I think you and I are the only ones who were in here last month. We volunteered with Habitat, and we did the construction site. I don't know if you saw, did you see, they sold the house to the family. And so the family moved in, so we went and did the final like touches on a Habitat house over in Covington. And so we got to talk with the people who put in their sweat equity hours. And so I've recently partnered with Habitat with us as a way to give back. And so that was our very first one. I think we had five of us women from the Rio went and did that. And it was really cool because I think the house closed like within a week or two later. And it was like I think a single mom with like 5 kids who moved into the house, and they all had matching shirts that day, and you know, like it was a sweet experience. But look, so a few things. So our meetup, the goal here is kind of learn local. You know, you got the conferences you can travel to. You've got, you know, the people who are traveling in, the traveling salesmen who are traveling in to try to, you know, sell you a $30,000 course. You got a lot of different ways you can learn about real estate. So this is a way for you to kind of learn local in a casual atmosphere. I'd like to say. So here's the thing: is if you got questions, don't be afraid to ask. You know, we're active on Facebook. You know, you're welcome to join. We have a group on Facebook where it's like a daily interaction thing. If you're not already in that group, that's something that I would highly recommend joining, because there's a lot of people like who have like a question, but it's not, you know, it's not the meetup day, right? They're like, I've been having this question. But look, so we have 2 to 3 meetups a month. Actually, it's free to attend. We actually have some local sponsors, so we have a handful of them in the room. Let's see, we've got, well, Mia is over there. I knew I saw Mia. So Mia Rogers, she actually just sent me a market report, so I'll put that on the website so you can see like what the market is doing as far as the recent solds. Like, is the market taking longer to sell? Is it going quicker? What's the price, the average price per square foot? So that's going to go up on the website. She's an active investor and a realtor, both in Louisiana and Mississippi, right? So Mia Rogers, on this right table back here, we've got most of our sponsors' cards if you're like wanting to find a certain type of local professional. But we ran out of, I think 2 of them I need to get replenished. One of them's a contractor, Quillen Construction, Anthony Quillen. He's like, I got a whole box for you, I just got to get it to you. But everyone needs a good contractor. So we've got Quillen Construction. Another one, Sean Hughes, he's active military. So he's actually got a lot of experience as far as working with like VA loans and investing from afar because he's, you know, restationed. And he's an investor and realtor. We've got Christina Laurent. She's a property manager and associate broker. She's an investor herself. I don't know how many doors she has, but I think she's got like, I don't know, 18 or so doors now. I know they've got a good bit of doors, right? Christina and Eddie, they've got a good bit of doors themselves. I think they're nearing, you know, maybe the 15, 20 mark. But so then we also have Christina Ruska. She's with Loan Depot. She's a lender. I know a lot of you guys came and asked me questions. Hey, what are the Fed rate decreases? What did that mean? So I don't know if you guys saw on our Facebook pages, but she actually gave a response to that. She's like, calm down. We've already been seeing these drops. It's like not like something that happened today. Everyone saw it on CNN. You know. But she kind of gave a response that, hey, it's a good time to like check what your interest rates are. Good time to maybe refinance. She is probably one of my favorite go-getters as far as in general, just seeing how proactive she's trying to be to provide value. Just in general, watching her, like, I'm like, girl, when do you sleep? We've got, let's see, Justin Harris. He is a land wholesaler. So if any of you guys are ever looking for land, or if you ever have leads for land that people want to sell land, whether that's here or afar, the guy, every time he's like, oh, I just sold a piece of land in Washington. He just wholesaled it. I was like, have you been to Washington? No. And I'm like, you're doing this out of your house inside out. So anyway, the guy, he's got cards back there. Let's see, we've got Bob Norton, Mr. Bob Norton right here. I always have to get more of his cards because he's probably one of the only real estate specific CPAs I've found. I know because I called about 10 to 12 of them. And when I was asking them what their clientele was, real estate investors was only a portion of it, but this guy's an investor, he's a broker. We're actually going to a conference together next month. He started talking about, I was like, ooh, I want to go to that investing conference. Anyway, we have All Saints Insurance. They actually have some like a koozie and some cups back there too. I think I get everyone. I always am bad at listening that off. But the whole point is they're local people. What I'm not trying to do, I get people in my index all day long. Hey, I've got this course. Can I come be a sponsor? Can I come, pitch my thing? I'm like, no, that's not what we're looking to do here, right? So the whole goal is to do business in the room with people. And so thanks to these local sponsors and Habitat as a community sponsor, thanks to that, the goal is that, hey, let's have a free, good, casual atmosphere to learn about real estate. So let's see. So I got the newsletter, talk about sponsors, and then next month. So next week we've got the second meeting for the month. That's it's a lunch and learn. So it's next Tuesday during lunch. We meet we do like a Taco Tuesday lunch at El Paso here in Slidell. So that one, Mr. Robert Reed in the back here is going to be talking on. It's going to be on how to choose which exit strategy you want to use. So that's kind of like a beginner's lunch and learn we do. And then next month on September 10th, I knew I wasn't going to get that date without writing it down. September 10th, next month is the main meeting. My friend Jamie Robinson is going to be sharing on a residential assisted living. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the strategy in general. It's basically where you take a house, you add X amount of bedrooms in it, and it is something that I believe they do the residential assisted living and memory care for people who are looking to maybe put their parents in a home, but it's not the hotel style room. It's a house. And so he's going to be coming and sharing on that. It's a very interesting topic. It's actually a very interesting strategy in general because of how many people are facing retirement right now. So that's next month's meeting on September 10th. Let's see, so kind of getting past all of that, who here has a deal they want to share? Anyone have a on-market? Any realtors have an on-market deal that they want to share? No? Okay. Anyone have an off-market, maybe a wholesaler have an off-market deal they want to share? Steve?
Yeah, it might be a bit out of area. I don't know if any of you all investing in Lafayette, but I have a rental in Lafayette. I'm asking $45K for it. It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. The tenant got evicted recently, but they were paying $850 a month rent, so the cash flow is really good in it. So if you want more details, come get me.
$850 for a 3, you said 1.5? Is that below market rate?
Yeah, you can get more if you want to. If you want to do Section 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
You can get more. What's in the Section 8 tenant?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that just seems a little low so it might be an opportunity to increase it. Okay. And well, good stuff. So if for those of you who are looking, because I know we're gonna have a lot of people who are looking for because tonight's topic is deep diving on deals. A lot of places people are like, hey, where can I find deals? Two of the main places I point people to is one, realtors, because realtors can see the stuff that's all listed, and then from time to time they have like a pocket listing. Maybe a landlord who's like, hey, this guy wants to sell, but he doesn't want me to put my sign out front, because he doesn't want to scare the tenants away. So they've got this deal. They're just looking at. They want to have a list of investors that they can go to. So if you're a realtor in this room, can you raise your hand? Okay. All right. Can you raise your hand real quick? Look around, guys, because when we go to break, you want to pay attention to these people. Okay. So we only got like four realtors in the room. That's usually a first. The other thing is wholesaling. So off-market deals. Typically, if you're not familiar with what wholesaling is, it is when someone gets a property under contract at X price, and then what they do is they can actually assign their rights for on the contract to another person who's going to buy the deal, and what they can actually make out of the deal is the difference between the spread between the two. So the person's going to buy it. So say they get a house under contract for $100,000, and someone comes and buys it for $103,000 or $105,000, then their spread would be that $3,000 to $5,000. So a lot of times, there's a lot of wholesalers who usually have deals. That is one of the strategies I use. First of all, if you're a wholesaler, I am a buyer. So my card's on the back table. I buy on the North Shore, primarily in St. Tammany Parish, also in Tangipahoa, sometimes Washington Parish. But that is one of the strategies I use. But I only do deals on the North Shore. All of my deals are assigned to someone or already sold to someone. To give you an idea, I've sold just recently some duplexes in Slidell, some lots with mobile homes. I did a package deal with some mobile homes and some houses on them. And the whole goal is it's got to be a good deal, right? It's got to be a good deal, work for people. So if you are a wholesaler, can you raise your hand? All right, apart from Steve, myself, we got a few over here. So these are the people you want to come. I've actually got a glass bowl back there. If you would want to get on my email list, whenever I have a deal, I send it out by email. And so you can put your card, or there's some paper back there you can put your info on. So that is something that, if you're not aware what that is something that I often, if you're a cash buyer, you want to pay attention to different sources where you can find deals, because it's really hard to find a deal right now, right? Anyone else struggling with finding deals right now? Yeah, right. A lot of times it's like, man, I think we were just starting to talk about this. Hey, I want to change the carpet. I want to paint the walls. That's the level of the renovation I want to do to it. And I'm like, good luck, everyone else too. Wants to find that. Thanks to HGTV, a lot of homeowners want to do the same, right? Well, anyway, you guys, let's see. Other than that, I'm looking forward tonight. We're going to have an interview-style panel for some people. We're going to deep dive with some investors who've done their first deal. So let's go ahead. We're going to get started with some networking time, though. So for about the next 30 minutes, you guys, I want to encourage you to meet the people next to you. If you want to sign up for our newsletter, if you want to go look at our sponsor table back there, you're welcome to do that. Get to know someone next to you. If you're looking for a lender, if you're looking for a realtor, if you're looking for a contractor, ask around. This is probably the more, it's just as important what we're about to do next as the people who are talking, right? And so with that, all right, I'll call you guys back in when it's time to sit back down, but for the next 30 minutes, I want to encourage you to get to know some people around you. We have some water back here, and if you're shy, the people who are not shy, go talk to somebody who's kind of sit to the side a little bit, okay? All right, get to know someone, you guys. All right, you guys, don't forget that when you don't come, this is what you're missing. We'll get back starting in about 30 minutes, okay? See you then.
Before the divorce, it was supposed to do.
All right, you guys, if you want to go ahead and find a seat, we're going to get started.
Oh, okay. I just noticed that person said, "Oh, what's this?" Although I am one of them. So.
All right. It's a good good talking and getting to meet people, right? You never know who's in this room with you. You never know who is, yeah, there's, how many of you have, are looking to get your first deal done? Will you raise your hand, please? Okay. How many of you guys have done deals before? Raise your hand. Okay. We usually have, now I could go and say, hey, how many of you done? Have you done 1 to 5 deals? Done 5 to 15? Done over 15, over 30? There's people in this room, I know there's people in this room who've done a few hundred deals. So you never know who's next to you. Okay? Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead, if you want to come join us, man. You can come join over on, pick either one you want.
Okay, I'm gonna stay close. I'm
You
gonna
can
keep
stay
I'm gonna
close.
keep it close.
Okay, look, I'm not, I don't necessarily need a bubble in life. I don't know, I met you through here.
Yeah, we met through the REI.
Yeah, and so we met through here. So what I did is, I wanted to do this panel interview type setting, to kind of deep dive some local investors, their first deals. So we're going to start off with someone who got a buy and hold deal, so a rental property. So real quick, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure.
And where you live at?
Yeah. Hello, everybody. For those of you who I've never met before, my name is Jose Lopez. I live in Pearl River County, Mississippi, specifically Carrier. If you're driving through on the interstate, you may be tempted to pronounce it Carrier, but let me assure you that's incorrect. I have just want to also say before we get started that I have really found this meetup to be incredibly valuable to me. I have been introduced to things that I didn't know that prompted me to go back on my own and dive really deep into some research of those things. And I really feel it's helped add to my toolbox. I'm seeing opportunities where before it would have just blew right by me. Also want to give you guys a little bit of a disclaimer. What I'm about to tell you may invoke tremendous fear for those of you that are considering doing your first deal. But I just want to tell you before you hear the punchline of the story that I have no regrets. I'm very happy with the way that everything has worked out so far, and it has not shaken my resolve at all.
So we're in for something. Okay.
Yeah, you're in for something.
I don't know what it is yet, so we're both in for it.
A lot of money.
So I prepared some questions because I feel like if we kind of went through some questions, we'd be able to probably get the best story, right? Within the right time frame. Otherwise, I mean, I know we all ain't looking to stay here till midnight, right? So tell me, what got you interested in real estate investing? Like,
Sure. For me, everything that I do in life, you can trace it back to a why. And one thing I think that kind of lit the fire under me, it always was a one. I've been investing in traditional asset classes since I was 18. And
what do you mean by that?
stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I've actually held a few notes in the past, things like that. I've always wanted to do real estate, but I've been suffering from analysis paralysis like most of my life. I think a lot of you guys can, relate to that. I had my daughter, my wife and I don't know, it just kind of like lit a fire inside of me. I was like, I want to be fearless. Like I want to conquer the way that I've always dreamed about conquering, because I want to show her that that's real. That's possible. That you don't have to just like dream and allow these moments and these opportunities to pass you by. Like you can go out there and seize it. So I just really want to set an example like that for my daughter.
I find that a lot of people say that. They're like, man, I've been wanting to do this for 30 years. And then I wanted to do it, but I never just figured out how. You guys know what I mean? The next, 30 years passes by.
Really regret not buying my first buy and hold in 2009.
Bottom of the market.
Bottom of the market.
So let's go ahead and see. So tell me about so we're going to talk about your first rental deal. When did you get it?
So we bought it in January of this year.
Okay, so just a short, 7-8 months ago.
Sure.
So tell me this, how did you find it? And then, so how did you find it?
Well, I had been scouring the MLS. I mean, I still do that. I literally check it like every 15 minutes.
The stuff that's listed with the realtor?
I do. I unfortunately have not mastered the art of finding off-market deals, at least not me on my own personal network. So it was an MLS listing. I saw it on Zillow.
Okay. How long have you been looking, like actively looking, where you said, I'm gonna take action to win, you basically bought a property?
I would say about 5 to 6 months.
Okay.
We were committed to finding the property, and there's an old saying in real estate, a lot of you guys have probably heard, look at 100 houses, if you don't find what you're looking for, look at 100 more. We had probably looked at about maybe 25 up until that point.
Okay. Now when you're saying looking at other properties, was that like, did you put other offers in? Like, what were you doing like actively in that sense, or were you just running the numbers on other deals?
Running the numbers a lot. I'm a pro member on Bigger Pockets. I utilize their calculators a lot. In fact, I think I just got like some sort of gold star for like 500 calculator uses. But yeah, a combination of both. You know, I really believe that in order to master something, you've got to do it. So I'm very committed to analyzing and using those calculators and running numbers. We had looked probably at about 25 properties in person, and we had put an offer on 2 that unfortunately we just could not get it for what I needed.
Was it bidding wars, or like you just got declined offer?
The first one was just an outright decline. The second one was, we went back and forth a little bit and just couldn't get, honestly, I let that particular deal go, and I do have some remorse about it. I let some through my fingers for like $5 grand. Because I think when you're brand new at this and you haven't done any deal, you really feel like $5 grand is the end of the world. I'm not saying $5 grand isn't important, but I do believe that even after doing one deal, you start to view things differently. You realize like, okay, I'm not going to let something like that make or break. You start seeing value where it's not as apparent early on.
It's funny because I have 2 instances where one of them, my very first deal, the offer we put in was $40,100, and that was the realtor's experience speaking. And the other offer was $40,000. It was kind of like his cutoff, you know. He's not going to go to $41,000, you know, because it was a bidding war, and that $100 was the difference maker. But in his, like, everyone's putting your final and best, and let's just put a little bit more. But on the other end, I had a wholesale deal that I followed up on, and they had sold it to actually someone in the RIA for $500 difference from where I was at number-wise. I was like, if I would have just followed up, I'm sure we could have been, you know, I'm sure I could have gone up that $500. I'm like, congrats on getting that deal, but $500. You know, like that was, you know what I mean? Like it's like I could have gone up that, right?
Yeah.
But hey, 2020.
Hindsight's 2020.
You're like,
say that.
so let's see. What drew you to this specific one? Why'd you like it?
Well, I really liked the location of it. I had actually rented an apartment literally like a stone's throw away from there, so I just kind of understood the neighborhood. It's very centrally located. It's walking distance to, well, it was walking distance to a supermarket that is actually shut down. But, you know, it's just a really prime location, in my opinion. It's a location that is on the brink of going up in property value.
Okay, so the path of progress, the path of progress, a lot of people talk about that, but it's like, you don't want to bet on it.
Sure.
Like, the only way this deal works is, if, you know, that strip mall gets built down the road or that.
Yeah.
But it's like, hey, this is going to help it.
It is. It's near a park. I mean, it's really an established park. It's actually considered part of the historical part of Picayune, which is the city that this house is in. The other thing is that it was move-in ready. I mean, it was literally turnkey. I was able to move someone, which I may be jumping ahead, in there seriously like 7 days after I closed it. I've had 0 vacancy in this property. I'll tell you a little bit later on why you don't judge a book by its cover, but you know, at the time I went into it thinking this is going to be, it was a 2007 build. I mean, you're talking about what, like an 11, 12-year-old house. I knew the guy who built it personally. Like seriously, I was hanging out with him, drinking beers on the weekends while him and his family were building this house. So you know, just like, okay, I've got all the intel that I need. I'm comfortable with the house.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about the house. So you said it was built in 2007. You knew the history of the guy who built it. Did you know the owners, and then tell me like bed and bath and count,
Sure.
you know, stuff like that.
So,
Size of it.
you know, under beam, it's right at 1,100 square feet, 3-bed, 2-bath house, vinyl siding. It's slab on grade foundation, which in my opinion is a big plus. I really prefer that if I can find it. It's got rafters in the roof. Whenever I actually did the initial walkthrough, I could tell that the build quality was there. I mean, there's a lot of contractor grade building materials, but I really feel that all the important elements of being structurally sound are there, and that has been true. I did not know the owners. I did know that it was a single owner occupied home. It was a man who purchased the home brand new off the assembly line, and he had lived there until he passed away from old age. Not in the house. Just in case you guys are concerned about
Okay, that
ghosts
matters.
or anything like that.
I mean, once you start doing it for a while, a year ago, I think I dealt with my first house that someone had been killed in, and I was like, figured I'd come across one of these
Yeah.
sooner or later. It's an everyday part of life.
The eviction process with ghosts is just so messy. I prefer to avoid it, you know?
I don't know down here, we can do some voodoo if you need it.
Yeah.
Okay, so talk to me about the numbers. How did you finance it?
Sure.
What did you purchase it at?
So I purchased it for $79,500. Another one of those weird numbers. What's the difference between $79,500 and $80,000? So we'll say $80,000 for simplicity purposes. I bought it conventionally. I went through the credit union that my wife and I do most of our personal banking. We have another business. We've done banking with them since I was a teenager. I'll be honest, in hindsight, just because they were familiar and easy to work with, they were not the best option for finance. And they would only do it on a 15-year note, which at the time, being an inexperienced investor, I'm like, oh great, I'll be able to pay it off so much sooner. I now realize that leverage is your friend as long as it's in balance. You don't obviously want to be over leveraged. And for those of you that don't understand what I'm saying, leverage is just debt. It's other people's money. Use it when you can and when the numbers make sense. I wish that I would have shopped around and got a 30-year note on that. We put 20% down. Me, my wife, my brother, I think I mentioned that earlier. We do pretty much everything together, and we split the down payment in 3 ways.
I mean, you can always refinance it.
I'm about to.
Okay.
I'm about
So,
to.
but here's the thing is, you learn, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, this product, there's different products out there.
Yeah.
So my mother's been in lending for 30 years or something. She frequently tells me she'll send people down the road because at her bank, she can't offer what the bank down the road can offer. And it's just, there's different products out there. Okay, so you got like a loan. How much is it to put down?
I believe after everything, we negotiated that the seller would contribute, I think it was $3,500 towards closing. So total out of pocket, we were right in at $19,000 out of pocket. So,
Okay, was that something you had been saved up for a while?
yeah, me, my wife, and my brother were all very financially minded. We keep our liabilities virtually non-existent. You know, we own our primary residence outright. We keep our debt very focused on assets that don't appreciate quickly, you know. So at the time, we had, really almost no debt at that time. So yeah, it was just money that we had just stacked away. We were geared up towards doing something like this for a while.
So, did it, so all three of y'all contributed?
We did. Yeah.
Okay. So this is important, because a lot of people I have to have $100,000 in the bank, right?
And you don't.
No. There are other strategies in different ways where you can get into properties with,
Zero money.
you get paid at the table
Yeah.
they'll bring money to the table to you, go like, I just got paid X amount of money to come to
Especially if
this
you buy
house.
something that's owner occupied and you're getting the deposits for those. You can do first and seconds. I mean, there's a million ways that you can finance a deal with creativity, and that is something I have a much greater appreciation for now after leaving $19,000 in a deal. Whereas before, I'm like, you go to a house to ask for a down payment, you write them a check, right? Like, that's just how it works. I realize now that is only one way to skin a cat.
Only one way, but it helps break there's multiple ways you can go at it. Doing it wrong, if you can bring money to the table, there's more deals out there.
Sure.
It took you 5-6 months to find this deal versus other houses where if you're trying to find it more creatively, you're gonna have to sift through a lot more deals.
Yeah.
So tell me this. So, okay, so you got in. Had the house been sitting on the market for long? Did you have to negotiate the price? Because you said it didn't need work. It was turnkey.
It was immaculate, and it's still in great shape. Honestly, it wasn't on the market very quickly at all. I had mentioned earlier why I think it's so important. Run those numbers, analyze those deals. It's kind of like, and you're about to know that I stole this from Bigger Pockets, from David Green. It's like going to the grocery store and you're buying those staple food items. You kind of have an idea of what a gallon of milk should cost. You have an idea of what a pack of ribeyes are supposed to cost. When you see something that stands out as being out of that normal trend, it's going to get your radar. And I can tell you that at the time, that price per square foot, that asking price for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in that part of town, it stood out to me. I'm like, whoa, this is like $15,000 less than what you're seeing a lot of these similar properties sold for. So, I mean, I immediately got on the horn. I reached out to the listing agent. She dual represented both the buyer and seller. And I went and looked at the property seriously the second day it was on the market. It got listed like on a Friday. I went and looked at it on a Sunday. I mean, that's how, I was like, can you meet? I'm serious. Let's look at it. I did negotiate a little bit on price. I think I got her to come down, if I recall correctly, about $6,000 for her ask.
So, but they also brought money to the table for down payment assistance?
Yeah, so, and that includes that. So it was about $6,000
Altogether.
altogether, including the down payment assistance.
So the reason why I think what he says is really important is, I call it like you can't steal in slow motion. I mean, like, if there is a deal, it's like one of those things you're like, hey, go get to Walmart, they've got steaks on sale. And then they get there and they're all gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's one of those things. So,
Right.
you had a question?
I did. So, do you ever ask yourself when you see something like that, like, why? What's the reason?
That's the first question that I asked.
Yeah.
In this particular situation, because I did ask that question and I feel like I found the answer. The lady who sold this house, seriously one of the sweetest women I've ever met, she brought me a king cake to closing. Her father had just passed, as I mentioned earlier, and she was really ready to close the book on this. And it was just one of those situations where it's like, you know, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm at right now. I need to close this book. I need to fulfill some other plans. I can tell you the main thing that she wanted to do with the money for this, she wanted to buy the headstone for her father's grave. So, I mean, she was not emotionally attached to the house as much as she was emotionally attached to what selling that house was going to represent for and to honor her father.
But as an investor, you do ask.
Of course, yeah. And I have the skill to be able to go in and walk a property and look and assess it to at least a satisfactory level. I did actually buy a home inspector. He validated everything that I had felt about the property. So, you know, I could tell there were no skeleton in the closet. At least I thought. I'll tell you again about some of the things we've had to replace. But really, the house when we bought it was in great shape. We literally moved somebody in right away. She was just motivated. She was just ready to move on.
Before we jump on to the next part about moving a tenant in, I think it's important to note that a lot of times I tell people, because I deal a lot of direct to seller, I'm like, sounds like you have a great house, why are you selling? And they tell me, oh, you know, if I'm dealing like for sale by owner, and they say, oh, well, I just don't want to pay the real estate commissions, I usually laugh and say, hey, I'm usually more expensive than the 6% you try and save.
Yeah.
That's not enough equity for me. Like
Yeah.
that. But finding out why people are selling actually really is important.
It is.
When something
Great question.
sits on the market for a while, that's also why, right?
Who's seen it that's smarter than me that passed on it? You know, that's what I think like.
The market's really saturated right now, so it's deals. There are a lot more buyers than there are deals out there. So it is a good question. Okay, so tell me this. Okay, so 78.5. You said 78,500.
Yeah, it was 79.5.
79.5. Okay, 79.5. What was the rental rate that you were expecting people to get it for?
Well, it's funny because because it was my first property, I reached out to one of the more experienced property managers in our community. Person I know really well. We've known each other for years. He actually manages the identical property right next door. There's like a mirror situation going, where they're completely mirrored to each other. He told me what he was running that one for. I was actually able to get it for $150 more than what he's currently getting for my neighbor's house right next door, which I actually just had an offer on like 3 weeks ago. So I'm trying to buy that one too, because I already know that it's undervalued. They're getting $800 a month. I'm getting $950.
And a lot of landlords can do that. I've seen a landlord not change the rent in 20 years. And he was at like $425 on a $750 is what the normal market rate. But he's like, I just didn't want the tenant to move. And the tenant been there for 20 years.
And sometimes, you know, maybe there is a strategy behind that, but some of the most dangerous words you can speak is that's the way we've always done it. You know, like complacency is a killer. It is.
Right.
And to kind of echo back to what you asked, well, why was it listed that? Or, you know, why has this property been on the market? A lot of it's complacency. You'd be surprised why humans make decisions the way they do. And you'd be surprised to find out in terms of assets, they're making decisions not even considering the dollar price.
Okay, so price point, what are you renting it for?
$950.
$950. on a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Do you feel like there's any room to grow on that? Now, like on the North Shore, $950 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is low.
Sure.
Is that just what the area calls for?
I think that's probably close to the top of the market for our area. Interesting that you bring that up. Our 2 tenants, she's actually a real estate in Slidell. They're both Slidell natives. They felt like, man, I'm getting so much more for my money. It's worth me to drive 20 minutes when I need to go to Slidell.
It's very common.
Yeah.
So it's very common. But so a lot of people are like, hey, I invest on the North Shore. What about Tangipahoa? Or what about Pinyu? What about, like, hey, what about Bogalusa? So it's good to kind of know where, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, depending on where a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is located, you could get up to 16, between 14 to 1,500 on the North Shore here for it, just depending on where it's located. So that matters. Okay, so you did you have to do any repairs before putting a tenant in? Sound like no?
I changed the locks and that was it. The lady, like I told you, who is just a special person, she cleaned that house top to bottom. It was literally spotless. There wasn't even a speck of dust.
Okay, that's not common. So
No,
let
it's
me
not.
take the wool over your eyes.
Yeah.
I was just telling a story. There was a deal I just did recently, and I had to go do the final walkthrough of it, and then I had to go to a closing, or I had to go to an appointment at a deal at Wholesale, and I had to go to an appointment with my title attorney. I walked in, I looked at the manager, I said, yeah, well, I feel so dirty. But that's just, that's not common. And so, okay, so you got it rented in 7 days. How did you find a tenant?
So I advertised it. I had my initial listing on Zillow. I'll tell you later if we get to it that I prefer to use cozy.co. For those of you that are managing your own properties or thinking about buying a property, Cozy is going to be a great resource for you. So I created a Zillow listing. I shared it on social media. Within the first 24 hours, I think I had that first time, because I actually advertised it for $850. I had like 180 people contact me in like 24 hours. I then was able to start qualifying tenants. I had my criteria in mind. I knew what I wanted their income to be versus their liabilities. I knew what I was looking for in terms of credit score. I had already researched everything, and I knew exactly what I was looking for. I found somebody that was really well qualified that needed a 6 months lease. And she'd been rejected by everyone in town. And this woman's a doctor. She's got like a $200,000 plus a year income. And she can't rent a place in Pinyu. That tells me 2 things. The demand exceeds the supply. And there's a lot of landlords out there that just don't want to be flexible with a 6-month lease. So I actually increased the price to $950 as in return for doing the 6-month lease. And that's why I realized that my price point was too low.
Okay, so you talked about how you've done your homework.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the answer to this, but where did you do your research
Sure.
for things like the criteria for a tenant,
Mm-hmm.
the application process,
Sure.
the lease?
Yeah.
Where did you get the majority of your education on stuff like that?
2 of the biggest resources that I've had are definitely biggerpockets.com. If you guys have properties and you're not on Bigger Pockets, shame on you. If you're looking for properties and you're not on Bigger Pockets, shame on you. I think Courtney will agree with me. It's probably the single most robust resource out there. But I also use another resource called rentlikeapro.com. And they are professional property managers. They have a very straightforward system. I didn't actually even use their paid education class. I actually just watched all their YouTube videos repeatedly and took notes as I was watching. And I felt very, very prepared for what I was getting myself into with those 2 resources.
So for those of you who don't know what Bigger Pockets is, it is a website. It's free to use. You can sign up as a member. It has forums. I'm actively in the forums. I think I've seen you active in the forums. As you know, I met a lot of you in the forums. You can go on there and post like, hey, is this a deal or no deal? And you kind of run down the specifics with someone. They have calculators you can use on there.
They're great.
So you can pay to become a member, but it's still free, but you only get like 5 uses on the calculator. Some things may be limited, but you still get a lot of value for free. So they have webinars, they have articles, they have blog posts. My biggest favorite thing by them, something that I recommend to everyone, is I think I explained a podcast to my father as like a talk show host thing that's like you can go back and listen to.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't know what podcasts are, you're missing out. The Bigger Pockets has a podcast. It's about an hour long, give or take a little bit, and it's an interview. There are, I think they're in the 320 range right now.
I think we're
Like,
in the 340s.
okay, so like 340. I think I'm on number like 240. I'm in the 240 range.
When you start from the beginning.
And I started from number 1. That is 240 hours of content that, I mean, like, that's an education. So I have a rule that whenever I drive, I listen to podcasts, and usually it's Bigger Pockets. I also have a rule that when I'm on side streets, I don't listen to Bigger Podcasts because I can just get too much, in thought, right? It's kind of like, I don't know, I'm dangerous and stuff like that. I'd be like, trying to think about it, and all of a sudden, like, that was almost a mailbox. Okay, don't drive, no, I'm just kidding. Neil, what's up?
Are you using the Bigger Pockets forms?
I am, yes.
Okay.
And especially, thanks to that gentleman in the back there, I recently, a couple months ago, had a subject 2 on the hook. And he blew my mind with the amount of information that he had on subject 2. I had never even heard of it. But that particular forum post generated like 30 or 40 really insightful remarks. I mean, I learned about self-directed IRAs through that. I've been investing for years. I've had an IRA since I was 18 years old. Never knew the difference between, I thought I was self-directed my IRA. But, all of that information I got because of a great meeting this man gave to this group, and then me going to Bigger Pockets and trying to compound on that. But those forms are great. There's minutia and salesmen everywhere, but we're all reasonably intelligent people, I hope. You can smell it coming from a mile away. But there are, in my opinion, way more quality people on there sharing information than there are shysters. I would recommend
No,
it.
I'm saying forms, like your lease forms and all.
Like, did you
Oh,
get your lease?
forms.
Yeah, where do you get your lease
I
from?
think that was one of your questions. As per recommendation of rentalpro.com, I went on, I think it's like formdepot.com. I downloaded a standard Mississippi lease, and I actually converted it quite a bit. And then we worked with a lawyer in Picayune, and he took a look at it for me, and just make sure that there wasn't any glaring over simplifications or missteps or anything that need to be in there.
A lot of people don't realize that Bigger Pockets has state-by-state forms.
Yeah, I've seen
free
that.
for pro members.
Isn't that awesome?
Right, so I use all of my
Right.
forms from that.
I may need to do that too, just take a look. and
I've
see.
got my Mississippi forms, I've got my Louisiana forms, and if you go through, man, it's got some really good stuff in it.
They've also got, I think they call it File Depot or File Place, I thought it said Fireplace. File Place, I don't know, something like that. Mr. Robert Reed is who he's pointing to back there. Mr. Robert Reed, and for those who don't know him, if you don't know, he's a man who has to duck in and out of this room. Mr. Robert Reed, he shared here, I think back in January, we actually had speakers share, and anytime they want to leave content with us, maybe a printout, maybe a form, whatever. On our website, we've got some cards back there that say LANorthshoreREIA.com. It's like a business card with our website. Under the upcoming meetings tab, that's where I upload anything that a speaker wants to leave. In February, Wayne Sanji and Associates, their local property managers on the North Shore and the South Shore, they actually left a packet for, as a property manager, it's kind of like a rental management packet, and they include the Louisiana lease that they use in there. You can print it up for free. You can save it on your computer. You can take it and use that as a basis. There are a lot of free resources out there. The best thing I like that I heard you said is that you put it before an attorney. A lot of people are like, oh, that's going to maybe cost $500 an hour. No. A lot of times you can actually get someone who's either reasonably priced or who'll even just do it pro bono because maybe you close your transaction there or something. But we were having this conversation the other day. You're only as good as your lease. You're only good as your contract.
That's right.
So it's good to know what's in it. So I was in property management for 4 years. I managed a marina that was owned by an apartment complex corporation here in Slidell. So it was really fun. They trained me I'd get trained like an apartment complex manager. And then they said, go trains like that to boat sporting. I'm like, how do you think to boat? You can't put on the curb. But through that, one of the things is when I was renting out, I went line by line on the lease with the person. And yes, it applied to the boat slip, but because a lot of times I'm like, this is what I'm going to hold you to.
Yeah.
So when I come back and say, you're not allowed to do X, Y, Z, then you know, it's something where you can't argue with their signature there, right? Multiple times people will be like, well, what does this mean? So you want a lease that you're comfortable with, but you're only as strong as your lease. So,
That's true.
so the next thing is so you found your tenant through Zillow.
Yeah, a combination of Zillow and Facebook.
Zillow and Facebook. Are you self-managing your rental now?
I am.
So, number one, how did you come to that decision, and how has that process been, just in general, from finding the tenant to the everyday collecting rent, the lease, you know, application process, filtering out tenants, and collecting rent?
Sure. It's actually going great. My decision to do so was basically a matter of arithmetic. I mean, really, one property, I think, for a capable individual is pretty easy to manage. That's more money that I can then build up to put towards future investments. So for me, I just want to put my money to work for me. And I don't mind working hard for it as long as it doesn't mind working hard for me. So that's really my philosophy on that. As far as scheduling appointments, that's going to be the big thing, especially if you're in a high demand market. You're going to get, me and Mia were just talking about this, I don't know where Mia is now, but I mean, the demand is crazy a lot of times. Like, you're fielding texts and messages and all that. I basically said, I won't schedule a showing with you until you do my application. You know, so if you're serious, you're going to pay that $29 on Zillow, which now I recommend Cozy, but at the time it was Zillow. And if they were willing to do that, I said, okay, this is a person who, they know what my expectations are, my requirements are, they feel like they meet them, they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. So I actually wouldn't even show my house until they did their application. Even such, I still had, I think, like 30 people to do that. So I just got a little notebook, I did an open house. I didn't say, oh, well, when are you available? No, if you want to see it, come here, do your application before you show up at this time. You didn't do your application, I'm going to show them my house. Met with them, took notes, had an opportunity, kind of brainstorm pros and cons list, what I liked, didn't like, and I pretty much just did that, and it's been great. Yes, sir.
Did you refund the people that didn't?
No, sir, and they knew that ahead of the time because that money doesn't go to me, it goes through Zillow. But I did tell them that in the event that I had another property available that they were interested in, that they would not have to do that application at the time. Most people felt like that was pretty fair. But I did let them know in advance, it's not my money, I won't be refunding it. This is just how
Well,
it
because
is.
it's paying for a service. It's
It
paying
is.
for, what did it pay for? The background check,
Background
the
check.
credit check?
Credit check.
Something that's
Criminal
really
history.
important is using a service like this, one, makes it a third party.
Yeah.
So you're not having to collect money and then submitting it to a third party.
Or
to go to the
personal
third party.
information about people.
And that's the other thing
Yeah.
is, in this day and age, you don't want to have a stack of papers with people's social security numbers in your office. You know what I mean? Like for all these applicants, if you're going to run a credit report, you need to know that social security number. It's just easier to send it to that. One thing I really liked is that you used basically what I call like a filter or barrier. A lot of people will show interest, but you get a lot of tire kickers.
Yeah.
And to preserve your time is you say, hey, go do this. And then if they get follow direction, then it's a really, you can dodge a bullet. You know what I mean? Like, if they cannot, sometimes you get people who say, hey, you know, send me an email with the subject line that says this, and so many people won't follow direction, and then you real quick realize, like, okay, what is this, you get to know the person really quick. Wrapping up here, so going through this process, in hindsight, what are maybe 2 to 3 things that you've learned quickly that,
Sure.
that, okay, now that you're gearing up, like, as you're gearing up, that you would do differently?
First of all, being able to force equity into a deal is crucial because even for a person like myself who had the luxury of, you know, having capital at my disposal, you run out. You know, I mean, unless any of you guys hit the Powerball, you know, you can't just go throw $20,000 per house and expect to build your portfolio up to 30, 40, 50, whatever your goal is. So finding those value-added deals is going to be really, really important. The other thing that I would try to do differently is I would have worked with a regional, local lender rather than a bank that was restricted in the kind of financing products they could offer. So, you know, just because you have comfortability with the bank doesn't mean they're the best for you. Go out there, talk to people, see what sort of loan products are out there. Find one that fits for you. Don't feel so invested. I mean, for me, I was like, I want proof of funds. I want to be able to submit an offer that says I'm pre-approved, I'm not blowing smoke. So I was like, yeah, hey, we've been doing business forever, pre-approve me. And it was like 5 minutes, right? But it wasn't what I thought it was. was. Like, I wish I would have gone out and built another relationship, put forth a little bit more time filling out papers, and it would have opened me up to more options.
Between my different companies, I think I have a relationship with 6 or 7 banks.
Yeah.
I don't have all my business in one bank, and I do that strategically. I do it strategically with different types of banks.
I wish I would have done that for this one.
Because I want different lenders to know who I am, and to be able to see my money coming in and out the door helps with that relationship. So real quick, tell me real quick, as far as equity, you have 79,500 into about 80,000.
Sure.
So did you have to pit anything? It sounds like you had some things where you had to pit some repairs.
Yeah.
I know that's a big story, but
It is, and without going into it, I just want to say that people are scared of getting into value-added property because they're like, oh, I don't want to do a rehab, that's messy, and it's risky. But look, I bought a property that was totally turnkey. I replaced an AC unit, 2 toilets, a dishwasher, took out the garbage disposal because that was just going to be a headache going. But I mean, I've dumped like $6,000 or $7,000 into this. And the reason I bought this property is because I didn't want to have to deal with the rehab. Not that these things are major, well, the AC was, but just, don't let fear be the reason you don't do something. Let your goals be the reason why you do.
so did the tenant bring these up? Were these like issues with tenants like, hey, the AC's not working? Okay.
Well, like the toilets were probably leaking when they did the inspection, but I had some tenants that put those little blue tabs in there, and now all of a sudden you can see it. And I try to reward my tenants when they bring stuff to me because I don't want a little leak that I can go ahead and knock out now with a $200 toilet in half an hour of my time. That's going to cost me, $5,000 in repairs when they move out or when I do inspections.
So, okay, so would you say you have equity in the house? Like, what would you say is the house is worth now?
Well, it appraised for a little bit over my purchase price. I think it appraised for like 84, so I went into the deal like $4 grand. I've put about $6 grand into repairs. I think the market has risen a little bit. I'm a little scared that we're starting to cap out. But I'd probably say that I have, not including the capital, I probably have like maybe 8,000 in equity that just, came from buying the property and making some improvements. I mean, obviously I owe a lot less than what it's worth because I had to put $19,000 on it. I'd really like to get that $19,000 back if I could.
One of the things is, okay, so if you guys are doing some of these numbers, he's right under 80,000. You said 6,000 into it.
In repairs after the fact.
Okay, so then we're at what are we at 85.5. And you said it appraised at 84.
Yeah.
So he's right at retail value of the property. Tell me real quick, break down your cash flow on the property.
Sure, so I cash flow $225 a month. I mean, my mortgage.
That's what you're putting into your pocket
That's
after
what
all
I'm
your
putting in
expenses.
my money. I didn't actually budget a big CapEx, and that's a rookie mistake because it was in such great shape. It's a 12-year-old house. But I just literally, they installed that air conditioner this morning. I just went and paid $500 for that today. So, but yeah, $225 after it's all said and done, that's on a 15-year note. So if I convert that to a 30-year note, I imagine that number will go up to about $450 a month.
Okay, but tell me, so $950 in rent?
Yeah, and then $724.78 is my mortgage.
$724.
70, so $27.25.
Okay, so one of the things is, bigger pockets wise, bigger pockets coach, so that's PITI, right? So here's a few things. So $950 is what he's getting, and he's kind of at the top of the rental market. And your note is
$725.
$725. That's going to include principal and interest on the mortgage, and that's going to include your insurance. So what he's walking away with. So here's the thing: is a lot of people say, "Hey, that's a cash flow." I do things a little bit differently because on top of that, I am going to deduct around 10% for property management. Because if I'm self-managing it, I'm paying myself. Because if you don't build it into that, if you grow your portfolio and you don't have it built into there, then you're going to have to come out of pocket. The 10% is about market rate for how much you pay for property. Someone else to manage it. If you've got 20 rentals, or if you've got a full-time job, or you don't maybe want to manage your property, or maybe you don't have the personality type. When someone says, "It's between my kids getting a good Christmas and me paying rent," and I'll be like, "I'm sorry, and Christmas comes at the same time every year." But some people don't have that type of personality to say that, you know what I mean? So managing your own property isn't for everyone. So I would do about 10% for property management. So that's $95 a month that I would pay myself if I'm going to manage it. Take the phone calls, manage any repairs, collect rent, and do evictions, things like that. Sign leases, find tenants, all those things. I also do about 8% for vacancy. So the reason I do 8% because that equates out to 1 month of vacancy. Ideally, if your tenant moves out, you're going to probably need 1 month to get another one in there. So maybe go in there and clean it up, maybe paint it, maybe steam clean the carpets, or worse, right? Every month I put aside 8%, so that allows me 1 month of vacancy, because a lot of people don't account for turnover in rentals. Because when a tenant leaves, I mean, you can blink and it's $5,000 just for painting and whatever. You know what I mean? So by putting money aside, I'm accounting for a vacancy because he's got a $725 note if the property is the tenant's paying or not, right? If there's a tenant in. So that vacancy, if you put that aside, you can then
Flip that mortgage.
you can pay for it's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of income the property has generated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
The other thing is capital X. So capital expenditures, these are things like roofs, ACs, appliances, just things in general, like those big expenses. Putting aside money for the hot water heater. I put aside around, I would say on average 12% is what I account for, and I'm talking these percentages off of what the monthly rent. So if it's $1,000, I'm paying $120 for 12%, right? If the property is older, I do a higher number because you're going to maybe have more repairs, right? Every property is different, but I account for that because when the hot water heater breaks, that's probably like $800, right? Would you say around that?
You have to pay for a plumber to do it.
But it depends more. I mean, if I'm not putting income aside, or if I'm not allocating funds for that, whose pocket is that coming out of, right? Right. So when it comes to buying and hold rentals, there are ways you can get into it with little to no money. But if you do not have reserves set on the side, two things: lenders are going to look at you like this because they know that that's what happens with properties. Am I right?
That's right.
They're going to look and see if you have a reserve. And the more properties you have, the more they're going to look at your reserves. The other thing is you're setting yourself up for failure because you're not planning. The failure to plan is you're just planning to fail, right? Because stuff goes wrong, right? How many of us have vehicles, we buy it, we're like, oh, this is going to be great, and then when are the tires have to get changed? New tires, brakes, oil, you need money for it, right? So planning for those things. The reason he's talking about going to a 30-year mortgage is because it's going to then bring that $725. Because when you owe money in a shorter amount of time, you have to pay in bigger chunks, right? When you can pay longer, so right now, while interest rates are low, if it's good to kind of check these things out. What I like about a refinance for him is you pay a lot of interest up front, right? So if he was 6-7 years into that loan, I'd be like, you're going to start
You're
over.
halfway there.
You're starting over, paying you're heavy on the interest up front, right? So these are just some things I would say here. There's a ton more we could say, but last question for you is, what's next?
Well, I've got a couple irons in the fire, and I know we talk a lot. I mean, really, in this market, you've got to hunt for deals. You need a network. You can't do any of this alone. I mean, sure, you could try, and you would probably get, at least some distance into your goal, but you're really only as powerful as the team that you try to create. I mean, go out there, talk to real estate agents, talk to contractors, get to know people, get in the game. Let people know who you are and what you're doing, and you're going to start creating this magnetic effect where, just information regarding what you're trying to do is coming to you and you don't even know how. So do that. For those of you out there thinking about doing your first deal, do it. I mean, this deal was scarier than I realized when I first got started, but that's okay because now I know that. I've been out there, I'm being tested all the time, and I don't regret a thing. I mean, Drew Brees, I know I got some Saints fans out there, isn't Drew Brees because he sat at home reading about football all the time. He's got that ring on his finger because he gets up there and he throws the ball and he surrounds himself with talent. If you want to be a rock star, if you want to be a Drew Brees, which I hope to be, I mean, not football, but, maybe in real estate, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find my Sean Payton. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to find my Michael Thomas. You need those people in your team and you need to get out on the field. So find that deal, approach it with as much caution as you can, but just do it, get in the game.
Okay. Well, hey, man, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, I appreciate you having me.
I have a question for you. So on your reserves, right, where do you stop?
Where do you stop?
Right.
And again, it needs to equate to your goals because If you're looking, it depends how big you want, how many rental properties you want to have, right? And it also depends, like, no matter what is, having those reserves, one, that's something that's a good question for your lender, to ask them, what are you looking for?
6 months.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, so see the things that they're looking for, because if you want to continue having good relationships with your lenders, you want to meet their requirements, right? But the other thing is leap is not going to stop hitting the fan. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. No, but
it's
what
not,
I'm saying
right?
is,
Like,
for you as an investor, you have.
so I build,
properties, right?
so building my reserves, that is something like, it is very tempting because you're like, ooh, I have money set aside. It's very tempting to say, go buy a house with that. And I'm like, don't buy a house with that. You know, like, it's hard, right? I don't know if you guys struggle with that too, but I have a reserve account that, like, I literally need to rename it, stop looking at this money sitting. You know what I mean? Like, this is not buying house money, this is fixing house money. So I think that depends on the individual, because, and there's a lot of different opinions on that. I think one of the first things though is talking to your lender, see what they're requiring, because if you're gonna continue to get financing on it, that is a barrier that you need to hit. And then it's also comfort zone. I mean, I'm notoriously conservative, which is why I do those extra percentages and stuff like that, which is why I don't find, I find deals. No, I mean, I think I'm closing on 4 this month, that, you know, a good bit of my wholesaling, things like that, but it's like, I'm just picky because, the market's saturated right now, we're kind of at the height of the market. There's a lot of things you can say into that. There's Robert, he's a lender.
But like we had said before, talking to multiple lenders is a good idea because we care about reserves, but if you have a little less reserves, but you're a good, strong client, and you're looking at something that's a good deal, we're not gonna worry about the reserves that much. So just because one lender says I need 6 months,
Right.
doesn't mean every lender's gonna want 6
Now, I'm
months.
just curious what other people are doing. So for me personally, my number's 10,000, right? So once I've got 10,000 in reserves, I take the rest of that money and I put it into my buy my next property pool. Right? So when I hit the 10,000 mark, everything else now goes into buy my next property pool. And if I have to dip into it to replace an air conditioner or put a roof or whatever on, then everything goes back into the reserves again until I'm back to the 10,000. So far it's been working, right?
So again, but in my conservative mind, I'm also on the board of directors for a condo complex. One of my properties is in a condo complex. I will not forever own that. I'm going to be disposing of that one soon. But because I'm on the board, condo complexes have reserves. And so we're constantly going on that. But one of the things is $10,000. It's on average $16,000 to replace a roof. So it could easily wipe it out, right? So it's one of those things on my conservative mind, I'm like, that's a great number. But then the fear, one of the things you can offset it by is just your ability to get, maybe you have a line of credit somewhere, maybe you can get, maybe, you have access to money, maybe not necessarily you're liquid in the bank. But let's go ahead and bring in Corey and Mark. If you guys want to come join up here. What was the question?
You have separate accounts attached to each property, like an account, like one account for all your deposits?
So that's a really, really great question. I put deposits in a separate bank account. You do not want to touch that. Deposits, you want to keep stuff separate. If you ever read the book Profit First, anyone here ever read the book Profit First? So Profit First is a really good book in general with accounting because it tells you don't look at $100,000 or $100 and say, oh, I have. Like, how many people look at their bank account and say, oh, I've got $100 in there, I need to spend $100. I got $100. But don't forget Mr. Taxman. So I have a separate account for taxes. I've got a separate account for reserves. I've got a separate account. But Profit First is not about rental properties, but it's about just business in general. Because it helps you to see, okay, crap, I didn't spend the money for the taxes because, when you're looking at one lump sum, when you're paying them different ones, I do that. Not everyone does that. It's a personal preference thing. I think it's really smart, though, to move the deposits away so you do not. People get in trouble when they start spending deposit money on, like, repairs when it's not their money to spend.
But, do you separate accounts by property, like say with CapEx, does each one of your properties have its own account?
So, again, that's going to be getting down to personal preference on people because I just said I have a relationship with multiple banks. It's really fun when I have to make deposits. right? It's like my dog gets like 6 treats going through the lines, right? He loves it. Because when we go through drive-thru, I gotta go through drive-thru, I gotta go to his bank, I have to go to the bank across the street, I have to go to the bank down the street. So, things like that are nice, but the downfall is the paperwork and all of that, right? So you've got to find whatever your personal, find what works for you. I would trial and error a few things and maybe get some input from some other people as far as like, you know, but also be aware like the time it's going to require you. Like say if you've got multiple, you know, just the upkeep of stuff like that, right? Last question.
Who's the author?
Mike,
Something
something like a big long M. The Cowboys. If you go to lanorshoreread.com/resources, so I'm a big reader. My goal is to do 40 books this year. Don't let me forget, I'm giving away a book tonight. That is on the resource page. I think I've hit like 50 books on there and a lot of podcasts. But Profit Verse is on there. It's like Mike something, Mike McCallowitz or something. I don't know. Mike Wazowski. I don't know. All right, so now we're going to go into the other side of things, flipping, right? A lot of people are like, hey, rentals, hey, flips. Those are kind of the two main strategies a lot of people think of. So these guys, I don't know how long ago, I don't know where I initially met you. Instagram, maybe Bigger Pockets. No, I think Instagram might be right. So these guys are headlong into their very first flip. And the home stretch with it. So let's go ahead real quick and introduce yourselves.
I'm Mark, I'm a riverboat captain. I'm Corey, I'm a truck carpenter by trade.
You mind doing a quick glance at this, make sure that the live stream, y'all, I always forget about it, and halfway through, like, you don't know if it's still going. It'll turn itself on, like, sorry, y'all. You know. So, why did you guys decide to get into real estate investing? Because, okay, so you said a tugboat captain?
Yeah.
Tugboat captain, and then
Carpenter.
carpenter by trade. Okay, so what got you into investing in real estate?
I want to be 70 years old, waking up at 1:30 in the morning to go to work and down on the boat.
Working is just getting tough, you know. We're owner-operated company, my dad and I have, and I see my dad has been sweating all of his life and works his butt off, and he's built a good business, and I'm right there next to him doing the same thing, but he doesn't have anything that's working for him. Just like to be able to relax one day and maybe have fun and relax.
Sounds like a few of us want to get out of the rat race, right?
Amen.
So
Could y'all speak up a little bit?
speak a little louder. Okay.
Thank you.
So tell me about your first property. How did you find it?
MLS. I get on watch change early in the morning, and I had pretty much the same thing that Jose had. I had all the notifications sitting on my phone, so every morning I'd get them, and I'd be texting them at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning before you even wake up. Just the things that we get to look at. I was living on the boat at the time, so anything that looked like it could be a deal, I'd send it to Corey, and Corey doesn't know how the houses and walk through it and know if it's a deal or not. That's pretty much how we do it.
Okay, so you found on MLS. Just in case you guys don't know, you can find a realtor and they can actually set you up where it's like an automatic email you get that fits your criteria. Mia could set you guys up with stuff like that. Yeah, so like you get it automatically. So say you're like, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in these zip codes. And then you can go really granular with that, like, you know, but in general you can build a criteria. So you don't have to keep going to her and saying, hey, I'm looking for this. You can, but you're not going, please don't go at 6 a.m. And say, hey, like, what's on the market today for 3-bedroom, 2-bath in this zip code? So you can, whenever it's convenient for you, look and kind of do a little bit your own due diligence, right? So how long did it take you guys to find this deal?
2 or 3 months maybe?
Yeah.
Something like that. We looked at a few other ones, put in other offers, and the first one was stuck.
But how many offers did you put in?
6 maybe?
Yeah.
5 or 6.
Okay, so that's something that that's really important because it's rare to get your first deal, right? Like you're going to go look at it and then you buy it. One thing I think a lot of people don't keep in mind is don't fall in love with the property because emotion-wise, you're like, you see yourself like 3 months down the road with this property, like walking into it, and like relationships don't go well like that anyway. So like on the first date, if you're thinking of talking about marriage, you know what I mean? Like, so the same thing with the house. It's like, keep the emotions at bay, because how many, like, making these offers and then it's like, that didn't work out, right?
Yeah.
And you're investing a lot of yourself or a lot of your time, a lot of your mental capacity in these deals, and they fall through. So what did you like about this property?
The location's very close to Southeastern's campus, and we thought it'd be a good property for, actually our original reason for purchase would be for rental, and we're gonna try and burn. Yeah, we're gonna try to do the burn strategy, and I guess we'll get into
And repairs.
Okay, so this was it was Hammond. It was in Hammond. Talk to me about the actual house, the square footage, the bed count, the bathroom count, and like the condition.
2-bedroom, 1 bath, plus a sunroom, 830 square feet on the roof.
Yeah, it's a pier and beam home, built, we think, in the 60s. It was very outdated, but there was a lot of potential in the home. We tried to get as much of the potential we could out of it. Just, like the home shows that you see, it wasn't quite a zombie house, but it definitely had some character to it that we were really trying to bring back to it and give it some life again.
So tell me this. I want to make sure I'm hitting all these things. Okay, so what was the purchase price? Talk to me about like how you took down the deal, purchase price, and then like is that something you had to negotiate? Like how long had it been sitting on the market with the realtor? Because both of these deals were found with realtors, so the myth that there's no deals,
Yeah.
right? Like with realtors, no, there's deals out there.
We jumped on it quick. We looked at it, 2 days, listed and began offering it. They were asking 75 right off the bat, and we put it on for, I think, 70. And we ended up agreeing in the 72 range. We got our inspection done, and there was more stuff done with that needed to be working on with the foundation, and we asked them to go back to negotiating if they want to. So we let it sit 2 weeks, sat there, we went to the beach, and it was still on the market, and we were like, hey, let's offer them 60. And I think they came back with 65. And I had been offshore on the boat, and they still had our deposit, and we said, look, we'll do 64 and you keep the deposit. And that's what we got.
So a few things I like about that is you have experience in construction, but you still got a home inspection.
Right.
Why?
I've been through them in very rough shape and in good condition, and it really doesn't matter if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. An inspector's job is specifically to find things that you might overlook.
An inspection typically costs a few $100, anywhere between I think I've seen maybe 600, depending on the size house. So a lot of people are like, I ain't gonna pay that, like that's expensive. Trust me, not paying it is more expensive, right? And I highly recommend people who are like your first so many properties to don't even think twice about paying that, unless like maybe you were an inspector yourself. But even then, because the good thing is you actually then can go back and negotiate with it. You get a report that's like, I don't know, like 30 pages long, 50 pages long. It is their job to find like a very long list of things wrong with the house, and then you can actually go and negotiate with that, right? And it's in writing. You can't, it's not, I think I saw this little, issue. No, you can actually use hard evidence, right?
Exactly.
So at first they didn't want to accept your offer, but then it sat, so then they got a little bit more motivated. You guys were okay to walk away, go to the beach, say, okay, we hit our number, we're not going up, and so you got it for 60, pretty much 65, because you had your deposit. So you got it for 65,000. And then how do you finance? Did you get a loan? Did you pay cash?
Put 10% down. I think we put down 15 in closing
Okay.
costs, and then the down payment. And we just did traditional financing, no lending.
Okay, was that like a 203K construction loan, or like what type of loan was it?
Just a traditional.
Okay, because sometimes depending on the amount of work that the property needs, you can't always get certain loans.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's so let's see. What did you? So it's a house it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. house under 1,000 square feet, it was outdated. What was y'all's, what did you think if it was fixed up, what would it be worth?
120, 125 was the hourly we were looking at originally.
Okay, they're saying they can hear you.
125 for our ARV.
Okay, so it could be worth 125. So quick math, do you see the percentage that they got it at? Can you kind of see? And then what did you estimate the value of the budget for the repairs?
16.
Yeah, around 16,000. For the first time, we weren't too far off. We're going to be in at around 22. That's including some unforeseen things.
Good stuff.
Open a wall and have the entire wall be rotten, and still trying to figure out how the sheetrock was still stuck to the wall. The bathroom, we just went ahead, completely redid the subfloor in the bathroom, some of the floor joists. That wasn't things that we were really thinking were going to be on our list in the beginning, but went ahead and took care of them. Just trying to make a solid foundation.
So your budget was 16, you ended up in around 22, so $6,000 over budget.
Yeah.
How long did you think it was going to take you to do that work?
Over like 6 or 7 months, and it ended up running closer to 9 months, and then we finally got it on the market.
Okay. The reason this is important because with the flip, you're spending money each month you hold it, right? You're spending money on insurance, like additional insurance. You're spending money on the proration of taxes. Maybe the cost of the money. Maybe you had there's all these expenses where the longer you hold it. So that brings up a really good point. How much of the work did you do yourself, and how much did you hire out? Like, what would you say percentage-wise?
Probably 80% of the work we did ourselves. We did the demo, the hung the rock. I have a connection with prefab cabinets, so I got to hook up with that. I had to build the cabinets, install them. We tore the tub out, the toilet, we went with everything new. We did. The only work we really didn't do ourselves was paint, tile,
Floating the table.
finishing the sheetrock.
Yeah.
We went as far as hanging it too, just to try to see if we could save anywhere we could. And that's part of what took so long for us was we were working on the weekends, and when he was home off the boat, I have a regular 9 to 5. We both have small children, so like finding the time to do it, it stretched a little further than we had planned, but we don't regret. I don't regret any of it. It's been a great.
How much shorter do you think it would have been if you ever figure out, like, if I hire it out, it's not this amount, put time off it, and then there's X amount of payments I wouldn't be making because I'm not stretching it out.
That was actually my next question. I love that question.
It probably could have been done, not hiring a general contractor and still trying to do that.
Subcontractors, yeah.
2 months maybe. I think that experienced general contractor probably could have done it in 3 or 4 weeks.
So I just think then those monthly payments that you're making for insurance and your note and all that stuff.
Yeah, the holding costs ran up higher.
I think that's huge because the common thought, like with rentals, is if I manage it myself, I'm not going to have to pay someone. If you don't calculate in those costs don't just magically disappear.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're doing something, you're exchanging time to save money. The opposite is I want to take my time back, so then I'm trading money to get my time back, right?
Well, actually, the way that you had mentioned that if you do your own property management, you pay yourself for the property management, we figured on the next one we do, if it ends up being a flip, we're going to budget it as if we're paying somebody else to do the work, even if we're the ones doing it. That way, we can pay ourselves to do it, or, God forbid, if I break a leg throwing a football with my kid in the yard, we've got money in that budget that we can pay somebody to do what we thought we could do ourselves.
Absolutely, because again, the same thing with property management is, what if mom or dad gets sick and it's like, I can't focus my rentals because I need to go take care of mom in Tennessee or whatever, right? Like life happens, so if you're not prepared for this stuff, you're in a creek without a paddle. The other question is, do you think you probably had a better budget, one, because you can do the work yourself and your experience, and because of the connections you had in the industry already?
Somewhat.
Like versus say someone else who would be in there, like their budget would have been not 16 to 22,000, it would have been maybe 30,000.
Absolutely.
Definitely gave us some flexibility.
$8,000 worth of cabinets I was able to get that cost
So 2 things to know that your team matters, like who you know matters.
Right, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah, it's so those things matter. And then there's different buyers have to be at different price points for properties.
Right.
So what would have not been a deal for a lot of other people was a deal for you because your budget was a different price point.
Right.
Okay, so the next thing is, so what type of, you started to talk a little bit about what type of repairs. What type of repairs did you need? You said cabinet, so did you redo kitchen or bathroom? Or both?
Good.
Yeah, we gutted just about the entire house.
Yeah.
Kitchen,
We're gonna have to raise it.
bathroom, probably 50% of the walls, sheetrock walls were tore down. There were holes. It was house, like I said, built probably 50s, 60s. It was just, it's had a lot of wear and tear. Tore out all of the floors, the top floor at least. Left the oak, original oak floors. We did cover it up with laminate, but
You covered it up with laminate.
well, the concern was I didn't want to put tile back into the kitchen, and I didn't want 2 different types of wood flooring in the house to meet each other.
So, talk to me about the selling process. Okay, so you had 9 months, you had things unexpected come up. Talk to me about when you finished it and then you listed it. So you hired a realtor to sell it for you. And talk to me about when they listed it on the property, online, and kind of how that went.
The realtor was a family friend actually that had looked at buying the house in the first place, and we reached out to him through our network and we got it listed.
He was familiar with the condition of the home before we had done any repairs, so he was, I would say invested in it, but he could.
You knew some history, you knew maybe sell it.
Yeah, sure.
In the sense of like, you don't understand how far these homes come, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So you guys, the realtor, it was a family friend, they listed. How long did it take to find a buyer?
He did a market analysis and thought we should list it at 129, and we were like, you list it at 135. And he was like, yeah, you can list it whatever you want to. So we put it on the market at 135, had pictures taken and everything, and we had a full cash offer.
Why did you say 135 when he said 129?
Just to put a little bit higher, because we always, negotiating, they're gonna offer less. So we were hoping for,
And its location.
yeah,
It was hard to pull comps for a 2-1 in the area. He was having to go as far as Ponchatoula. There was another comp that was pulled that wasn't in a very good area. It's a beautiful piece of property with a old oak tree in the front yard. It's bicycle distance from Southeastern's campus. We figured it would be perfect for either an investor as a rental property or,
So, I call them quirky properties, like anything below a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, anything that it's not easy to find other ones like it. So maybe it's a little bit more rural, like it's way out in the Goonies and nothing else has been selling here or whatever. Just for whatever reason, if something is unique, it's hard to find other comparables. It is going to be hard to come to consensus on the sale price. I also want to note the thought that, hey, you can list it for whatever you want. That's a tough mindset because, yes, you can ask whatever you want for a property. But when it comes down to it, if someone is going to buy with a loan, they're going to go and the bank's going to do appraisals in the area, and if they cannot, I don't care if that person is willing to buy it at a certain price point, if the appraisals don't come in, then they're not going to be able to get the loan. I don't care how bad the seller wants it, they're going to either, their hands are tied if they're trying to get a loan and the appraisal doesn't meet, which is another thing with quirky properties you want to be mindful. So tell me a little bit more, just real quick, about how the selling process has been. Has it been easy?
It's been quite interesting actually. So we had the initial 135 cash offer within 24 hours of it being listed.
18 hours.
They had an inspection done, and the inspector came back with a few items. Actually, the person interested in buying it was the
Daughter of the agent who listed it to us in the first place before we bought it.
So he was also familiar with the property before. He saw the junk that we had bought. After the inspection, we get an email, they're walking, they want nothing to do with it, no negotiation, nothing. That's the last we heard of. Had another offer, came in super low. They happened to hire the same inspector, and we laughed at we laughed and said, you know, this guy's already done the inspection, he doesn't have to do an inspection again, he's just gonna send it. Well, little did he know, I had the inspection report, and I figured if some of these items cost me the sale the first time, let me go repair what I can, that way, that make that list a little bit shorter. Well, he gave the second people the same exact one.
Oh.
So,
And charged them for it.
and charged them for it.
So what were some of the repairs that you did?
There was some insulation that was moved around from when I was working in the attic, so I went and put it back. I was missing the vent light cover in the bathroom. I put it on, I mean, it was clear evident.
Pretty sure the picture he used for the missing insulation in the attic too is actually the attic access. Like you lift up and move out
Yeah,
the
it's
way.
a scuttle hole.
Yeah, that's what he used for the
So what were some of the things on the list that you chose not to fix?
Buff wiring.
They wanted us to rewire the entire house.
Was it original wiring?
It wasn't knob and tube.
Yeah,
It
it was
was,
aluminum, but it was
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
it had an old fuse box.
It had a few
circular
So
fuses.
you had to change that
Yeah,
out?
we replaced
We did.
all that stuff.
Because you can't insurance that.
Right.
Exactly, and that was part of our agreement when we bought, that we would replace that. That was one of the first things that we did.
so tell me this, so they hired the same one. That is, it's not uncommon for people to take the easy route, right? I just did the inspection on that, right? So there's a lot to be learned and taken from that, as far as like who you hire and just in general knowing things. That was out of your control because you went and did work,
Right.
and it's like, it's difficult. So where are you guys at now with the property? Has it sold?
We were hoping to have some information before we even got here today. It's under contract again. We've come to some agreements on some things that we'll repair, and we've negotiated. We had an issue with them also. They wanted a 10-day inspection period. We asked for 5. Since they already had a contractor come out and look, he said everything looked great. He was aware of the cloth insulation, electrical. Wasn't worried about it. They were going to change it out anyway. They asked for the inspection report, and I laughed at the realtor. I'm like, yeah, sure. The guy's already seen this. He knows what to expect. They get the inspection report, and they're like, nope, we're walking. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? There was a note in pictures in the inspection report of some moisture under the home. There was some stain spots. Well, the inspector took pictures of it, but he did not put a moisture reader on it. I replaced anything that had rot in the floors, because we tore all of the floors, other than the bedroom floors, out. So our realtor said, look, I'm going to Hail Mary, I'm going to let her know that, that's not actually wet spots, it's just stains. So the realtor said, this was Friday, Saints' first game was coming on, I was looking forward to watching the game. He says, look, the realtor's coming from Metairie, she's going to get under the house and look and see if there's moisture herself. I said, I'll meet you there. I brought a moisture meter with
I
me.
would never do that.
I know, look at that realtor.
She is brave.
She got under the house, I had her already checked it, like you could look at the spot that looked wet, I put a moisture reader on it, it was coming in around 8 to 10%, which is going to be normal in Louisiana. A bone dry spot, you look like the board came, I'm not going to say from Home Depot because their material's soaking wet. It was reading 11 to 12% on what you would think was a dry piece of wood, and I was reading getting 8 to 9% on what looked wet.
So, but you took a proactive approach.
Yes.
Look, hey, these third-party decision makers, I'm not saying they're decision makers, but they influence the decision. These are appraisals, appraisers, these are people who do inspections, realtors, attorneys, lenders, all these people. I like that. I take a proactive approach. If there's an appraiser who's going to come out of the property, I'm going to go find 3 comparative ones, and I'm just going to go argue my case. I'm like, do your own work. I did it for you. In a sense where I'm going to say, hey, this is what I've been judging my educated opinion on, right?
Yeah.
Take it or leave it. I'm going to leave you with this folder. Take of it what you will.
Everything can't be arguable. But
So stuff can be argued. Here's the thing is, people take easy routes.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't we just learn that?
I've had appraisals overturned because he got the first 3, the house is kind of odd, so he didn't really look that far.
He didn't work really hard to
So,
find something comparable.
When the appraiser came back short, the seller's like, well, that's not right. So we did our own little research. If he went over here and here and here,
Let me say,
Would've worked.
let's refute it. This is the logic behind what we're asking.
so he got lazy and So you can't, just because it comes in a report doesn't mean you have to live with it.
Exactly. So there's a few things. One, realtors, you can kind of learn something about that. I think it's huge when you take a proactive because one, it differentiates you.
Yeah.
Right?
Big time.
And then again, you can learn about how people take the easy route. In general, I'm gonna say trust but verify. When you deal with other professionals, hope and trust that they're going to be doing, what's expected, but kind of verify. It's one of those things where we all expected the guy to go do a new report. I mean, but we're like in the back of his mind, he could have done that. So then verify. Be like, hey, just FYI, there has been a report. These things have been changed. Just make sure And, I mean, like, there's like, how can you be proactive? So lastly, so you guys, what is, in 2020 hindsight, what have you guys learned through this? Because the process is not finished, we're not going to ask about profit, all that, because that's still up for question. What are some things you have learned from this process that you would share quickly?
Old houses with painted shut windows, you get a quote on replacing the windows. And
Old houses in general.
yeah, also we had them resealed, repainted, scraped them. They're the old 8 and 6 pane windows. It was a pain in the ass, and it took more time to have the windows done than to have the whole house painted.
Did y'all keep like the old style?
So I retrimmed the entire house. I went back with a 1x6 baseboard, more craftsman style, which it is a cottage home, but I think that the craftsman style fit a little bit more. Shaker style cabinets, things like that, and left the original trim around the windows that wasn't damaged. The doors were beat up, the casing was all, it was in need of repair. So
I'm sorry.
No, that's
Would you buy an older home again?
sure.
Okay.
It's the bones.
Okay.
It's got good bones.
And so then, what's next for you guys?
Do it again.
Yep.
Find another property. Okay.
Yeah, and not do as much. My background is construction. It's not plumbing. It's not electrical. It's not it's not painting. And I tried to do as much as we both tried to do as much as we could to save. And really, you got to figure out what your time is worth. When we did demo, we could have picked somebody up maybe for $150 a day to come do what took us all day to do, sweating. It would have been much cheaper to just have somebody else do it. Yeah.
Look, I hate painting, and I even have one of those like magic sprayers that's like really expensive. That is the first thing I'll hire out. I don't care. I don't care if it's my stepfather. You want to go do this in spare time because you somehow, for whatever reason, for God's sake, and love it. Like, I hire out the things that you don't enjoy.
Yep.
I've gone from doing, my very first property did 90% of the work, and then hired out for 10%. I'm now like, I'm going to slap my hand if I'm trying to do 10% of the work. You know what I mean? Like I hire out the 90 because of this time factor thing. It's just figuring out your personal preference and money-wise.
I probably spent more in fuel going to Home Depot and Lowe's to get plumbing parts than it would have cost me to have hired a plumber.
Oh yeah, going back and forth.
Yeah,
absolutely.
When the employees will know your name at those box stores.
He
Like,
actually did.
third time today.
So if you can't tell, I'm not a plumber.
So, okay, you guys, well, I know we're a little bit over time-wise. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I look forward to seeing you and Jose. I look forward to seeing what you guys are doing. Thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm going to share just a few little things. I told y'all I don't want to forget this. So, I like to give out a book each meeting. Any of you guys ever read Never Eat Alone? It's a good book about networking, just in general. It says how to build a lifelong community of colleagues, contacts, friends, and mentors. Because your team really does matter, right, when you do these things. Anyone right now actively working on their first deal? Raise your hand. Would you like this one? Okay, I'm always like, what question do I ask? Do I say who can run up fastest? Enjoy that. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're a little bit over on time. Last but not least, September 10th is our next main meeting. Thank you guys so much for coming and have a great night.